as for his good manners, subhanAllah, how much can we say about his good manners? Anas ibn Malik said, and Anas ibn Malik lived one of the longest of the Sahaba. He lived until he was over 110 years old, Anas ibn Malik. He lived one of the longest lives. Why? Because the Prophet made dua for him, right? After all that he had done, one day his mother came, Anas' mother, and she said, Ya Rasulullah, your little servant, Huwaydimuka Anas, your little servant Anas, he's done so much for you. Make dua for him. That's all the mother wanted, wasn't it, right? She just wants the barakah from the Prophet. Ya Rasulullah, Huwaydimuka Anas, make dua for him. So the Prophet said, Oh Allah, barik lahu, give him barakah in his life and in his wealth and in his progeny. One dua. And Anas lived to see the results of this dua. Give him barakah in his life. He was one of the last of the Sahaba to die. And he lived to be over 110 at a time when the average death rate was 30, 28, something like this. He lived to be 110. And he said, give him barakah in his money. They used to say that if Anas turned a rock over, he would find gold underneath it. He was so rich that anything he did, it's as they say, the gold touch, right? It was like that. And people would love to become business partners with Anas, right? And they would just say, look, just sign the paper. We'll do the money, everything. They just wanted to get the barakah. I mean, not sign the paper, you get the point. Anything, just be a part of this, right? People would love to be business partners with Anas because they knew it would be successful. And he amassed a large fortune at the end of his life. And he had so many grandchildren and great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren, he couldn't even count them. Could not even count them. In his own lifetime, because the Prophet ﷺ said, بَارِكْ لَهُ فِي أَهْلِهِ وَفِي وَلَدِهِ في عُمُرِهِ وَفِي أَهْلِهِ وَفِي وَمَالِهِ. And these three things the Prophet ﷺ made dua for, and all three of them he was given that barakah. This Anas ibn Malik, he says that I served the Prophet ﷺ for 10 years. I served him. I didn't just visit him. I lived with him for 10 years. And not once did he rebuke me. Not once did the word uff come from his mouth. Now, uff, as you know, is the least word to express irritation. It's not even a word of anger. It's the word to express irritation. It's like, just like that. Like that. It's just that is the equivalent of uff. And the Prophet ﷺ never, ever said the word uff. And Anas said, he never said to me, why did you do this? And he never said to me, why did you not do that? And subhanAllah, as they say, by how a person treats his family, you know him. By a person's treatment of his inner circle, that's how you know him. What side we show to our family, to our spouses, to our children, that is the real us. It's easy to be somebody else in the masjid. It's easy to be somebody else in the workplace. But who you are in front of your wife, in front of your kids, that is the real you. And Anas ibn Malik is saying, for 10 years, I never heard the word uff come from his mouth. That is the perfection of his manners. And there's a beautiful narration as well later on, that once the Prophet ﷺ sent me on a chore to do, and on the way I saw some kids playing. So I started playing with them. Now, imagine the process of telling him, go tell somebody something, go do this and that. And this is a kid in the end of the day. He's 7 years old at the end of the day, right? So he's going to do the chore. He finds some kids playing, and I completely forgot about the chore. And then the Prophet ﷺ came out in search that whatever the chore was, it's not happening, right? So the person, maybe he calls somebody, it's not happening. So he's searching, what happened? And he finds Anas playing with the street children there, right? And so somebody held onto my ears and picked me up, and I turned around, and it was the Prophet ﷺ smiling at me. It's like playing with him. It's like, you forget your chore now. Playing with him, not even getting irritated at him, right? And subhanAllah, where do we stand when it comes to our own families, and how easy, and I'm just as guilty as the rest of you, how easy it is to get irritated and get angry. But again, he is our role model, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And even when people showed him the utmost contempt and the utmost disrespect, he maintained his dignity and his composure. Once a group of Yahud came, and they wanted to mock him, and they said, winking at one another, Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum. Not Assalam, Assam. And Assam means, may death be upon you, may a curse be upon you. It's like they're changing it, right? And they're winking at one another. And so the Prophet ﷺ maintained his composure, said, Wa alaikum. Maintained his composure. Aisha got so angry that from behind the curtain she screamed out, it's like, may you be cursed, and may Allah Azza wa Jal cause you to perish. How dare you say this to the Prophet ﷺ? To which the Prophet ﷺ rebuked Aisha and said, calm down, O Aisha, calm down. Don't you know that whatever is gentle is beautiful? And whenever gentleness is in something, it makes it beautiful. And whenever harshness is in something, it makes it ugly. So after they left, she said, Ya Rasulullah, how could you have controlled your temper? They came and they cursed you and they said, Assalamu alaikum. So he responded, didn't you hear my response? Wa alaikum, back to you. So I said, back to you. But he maintained his dignity and his composure. He didn't stoop to their level by doing what they did. He said, yes, you want to do this? Okay, back to you as well.